you have the opportunity to impact your client's life in all aspects.
The updated weight loss specialization will help trainers in many ways expand their career.
For the first time, we talk about the psychosocial aspects, the sociocultural.
You're going to be able to truly understand what your clients are going through when they have a specific weight loss journey.
All new information, new trends.
We were able to develop what we called personas.
To provide examples of what you might experience as a fitness professional when you encounter a client.
And build confidence as the months go by.
I'll feel more comfortable in my skin.
My self-confidence will improve.
Empathy is something that runs through the weight loss specialization.
It's about guiding people.
Regarding nutrition, regarding exercise.
I can go to bed at night knowing that I've done something good for the world.
It's great content and a blueprint for how to get results with your clients.
We put together a complete solution to help you, the professional, become the next weight loss specialist.
I'm Brad Dieter.
Ken Miller.
Casey DeYoung.
Wendy Batts.
Nolan Highland.
Mike Fanagrassi.
Welcome to NASM's Weight Loss Specialization course.
Hello and happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of We Speak here in the Alpha channel. My name is Katrina Pilkington, and I hope you're having a great morning or afternoon, depending on upon what time zone that you're in. But in today's episode, we are going to be speaking to members of our fitness community as we kind of just work on unifying collectively to help make fitness spaces equitable and accessible and inclusive for the humans that we aim to serve. So this week, we are going to be talking about kind of, I guess you can say, the continuation of 2020, what we learned from 2020 as we have come into 2021 so far, and maybe some of the expectations that weren't met, haven't been met, what kind of pivots and changes we've made as professionals in this space. So I'll be talking to two fitness professionals who have agreed to sit down and just have some open dialogue with me about lessons that they have learned. So I just want to take the time to welcome Maricris, Lapaix, and Yamisi, Fanga here on our show. Happy Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
I had to think about it too.
I have to remember what day it is. My daughter will ask me what day is it, and I'm like, Wednesday. Got it. Perfect. So let me just do a quick intro on these two amazing humans as we just kind of hang out and chat with y'all. If you have questions or comments, if you're watching this live, we would love the interaction. So feel free to comment, and our lovely producer, Eric, will give us the question to dive into. So I know many of you have just seen Maricris. She was in our weight loss specialization video and is in a lot of our NASM and AFA content. She is the CEO of Maricris Lapaix LLC and is also holding many certifications, including NASM CPT and also a certified nutrition coach certification. She believes that total health is about wellness and about being strong in life and about making sure that what folks do in their workouts or their movement time translates into their day-to-day elements to bring more positivity, to prioritize health in their day-to-day lives. So welcome back. I have you here all the time with me.
Thank you. Always happy.
And then I also want to introduce Yamisi, who is here with us in New York City. I've met Yamisi through the Fit For Us network of Black fitness professionals, and I love that she does so much work in her community, as we all have been doing in our community virtually and in person. She is also an NASM performance exercise specialist, an exercise physiologist, and wellness curator with over 20 years experience helping clients achieve meaningful change through health and wellness. She believes that there is power in feeding the mind and also the body through, like I said, movement, wellness, and nutrition. She holds her Bachelor's of Science degree in interdisciplinary studies, I have to say that word very slowly, for business and economics from Vanderbilt University, and a Master's of Science degree in exercise physiology and nutrition from Long Island University. So welcome to We Speak this week.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, my hope is that we all just, expand our network with amazing, inclusive humans, and that we all learn from one another. I want you to connect with these two humans on any kind of social media that they'll share at the end of our episode. But I just want to kind of dive in and maybe ask the two of you to share, how did you get started briefly in the fitness industry, and kind of what are you currently doing for folks in this space?
I guess I will pop on in. I'll go first. So I would say my start in fitness really started in my years as an athlete. I played college volleyball, and initially I started with a kinesiology degree, and I decided to switch things up and go the communications route, but got led back into that as a fitness model as well. And with that, people saw me being knowledgeable in the fitness space, but I knew I wasn't until I received that education. So that's when I started with NASM and have not looked back since then. And I started with in-person training at the Disney lot in Burbank. Found my love for working with perfectionists, corporate adults, stay-at-home moms. And with that, that's translated to my years of education till now. And I have transitioned into online training being the main focus, and now contributing education and content to other platforms.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a lot of what we're going to talk about, right? Like, what are we doing now that was different than what we did then?
Yeah.
Yamisi, I would love to learn more about how you got into this. I always say fitness with air quotes because fitness is so subjective, right? So how did you get into this industry, this space, and kind of what are you doing right now as we have seen a lot of changes happen?
Yeah, fitness. I've always been a fitness enthusiast just from starting as an athlete. I played basketball was my main sport. I played high school basketball. Collegiately, it didn't work out for me as what I wanted to, but I was involved in the women's basketball program at Vanderbilt. But I think that experience had me become a coach when I graduated, just the influences of that and wanting to give back. So as me starting out as a basketball coach for young men and women, and then specifically young girls, that's how I got started. And injuries, unfortunately, led me to have a group of physical therapists as my friends, and they would talk to me as I was coaching, and they would give me lots of tools and resources. At the time I was working in finance, and they was like, why don't you become a trainer? And I was like, well, I have a great corporate job right now, but I found it so fulfilling in terms of helping the girls of my community all over New York City, all the boroughs, mostly in the Bronx, and Brooklyn, Queens. And that's how I got into fitness, the love for training and creating programs and fostering some kind of impact with these young women in terms of learning that there's more about athletes, but also just taking care of your body. And then from there, after a stint in Atlanta, I became a personal trainer officially from then around '08, I believe. And that's where it stemmed. So, I did the circuit from New York. I worked at Crunch, and New York Sports Club actually was the first gym. And I kind of moved on from there. And then a few years in, I decided to go to grad school because I thought I believed I wanted to take it up another level and really learn the body more so I can give more care. So I've been doing that, I guess since about 2003 is when I started coaching. And then here I am. And then recently, through the last time of this last year, I created Quality of Life, which is my wellness brand for lifestyle, just to have a more, a broader view of what fitness means, and kind of redefining that.
Right. And we're definitely going to tap into that topic, as I know that many folks have seen, like I say, in air quotes, fitness be something that's very subjective, and we want to make it more holistic. And I know that's one common thread I know with the two of y'all and the way that you work with women and those that are younger and more impressionable in this space to teach healthy habits and lifestyle changes. What do you feel is something that you have done differently, maybe in the past, I don't know how long it's been, 18 months, I can't even count anymore, the past 18 months that's related to what you did before, but maybe just a little bit has a different package, if that makes sense?
I mean, in regards to me, a lot of the work that I do now is on social media. And, part of that, when you're thinking initially just business strategies, promoting yourself, you want to put pretty things out there. But really, I think the biggest transition has become being more real with everyone. And what was so interesting on the days where I was too tired, then I went and say I did a workout, and the video footage I shot was horrific. And I was like, let me I think this is really good content and valuable. Let me just put it out there and see what happens. And it received such good feedback. So I think for me, that was an indication that, sometimes as trainers, when you're looking to put yourself out there or you don't feel that you compare to others, what really stands out to people is just being authentic and giving them good information, because that was the most well-received content from there, And, also on days I was like, I don't know what to put out there, but I know my body's aching from workouts. So I put together a simple foam rolling exercise, and all of a sudden I get messages, thank you so much. I needed this for me. And so I think initially when you start as a trainer, you're like, I got to be flashy. I got to give something people exciting. And when you really start to understand your client, what they want, they all just want to feel better. And so I would say my biggest transition is less about the flashy, but more accommodating to where I'm at And, you know, breaking that barrier, I think sometimes when people look at certain fitness professionals and their standards, but understanding that we all have different struggles. We all took time to learn and get to where we are, and just to have some grace with yourself. So I think just being more real and open about the experience and putting a real face to it, I guess you can say.
For sure. Like relatability, I know, even with, you know this because you've moved, and letting, I always say that, especially with social media, you have the ability to have healthy boundaries and share what you want to share. You don't have to share what you don't want to share, but the things that you do share should be authentic, should be real, should be a way to relate to other humans in a way that they feel better instead of feeling worse about themselves, right? How about you, Yamisi?
I think for the last 18 months, for me, it's really about being vulnerable. I think being in a place prior to everything happening again, like Maricris was saying, it's just being out there and being flashy and showing yourself on social media. But I think we had a lot of time to hunker down and kind of self-evaluate. And I think the impact you can make, especially by connecting on social media, has really been about stripping kind of down yourself and showing how vulnerable you are. As trainers, sometimes we're often seen as superheroes, and we have this knowledge and we love wellness and we're always moving, but there are also moments where the world also stops us dead in our tracks and allows us to kind of sit there and say, okay, what happens when things are shaken up? And I know that's definitely happened for me. And I try to get that message out there more, which is how Quality of Life started. But it's really just about showing the people that you can be just as vulnerable for them, and that relatability, that we were just talking about is there. And people can kind of connect to us a lot more to know, hey, we go through our bumps in the road as well. There are moments where we're on it and we're working out, and there's moments where we go, like you can't get out of bed or are wanting to find that motivation to get out of bed, and we can express that to you and connect to you to show that it's real.
Yeah, like 2020 and COVID, they made no exceptions. Like fitness professionals, influencers, anybody, celebrity, whatever, nobody was immune to what could happen in the past year and a half as it continues on for depending upon what state you're in. But I think the two of you really hit the nail on the head as far as somebody said it to me best, where they said like everything, relationships, lives, everything has become unfiltered. There's no filter. It's completely open. Like I said, we can protect ourselves and have boundaries with what we want to share, but what we do share should be real. And I think that's what I would hope our audience can take away from listening to all of us, is that we want to be authentic. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be packaged in a certain way. More than likely, your clients and potential students are going to see you as a real human versus seeing, well, this really looked like it took a lot of production to make. Like that can't be real life. It has to look legit and authentic, right? What do you think is one of the biggest challenges? I know for me, I mean, Maricris knows this because we talk all the time, and Yamisi, you're probably going to get this now too. But I mean, like we just went through a lot in the past year and a half. Like I had death in the family, a cross-country move, just big challenges that, were hard. But at the same time, I've also been extremely blessed with a lot of career shifts and changes into different spaces. And you don't have to overshare, of course, what you don't feel comfortable. What do you feel like in your career maybe have been some of the biggest changes / challenges for you that maybe turned into more of a positive change?
I guess for me, it was a complete change. Like I was consistent, I was working, I had my clients. Ironically, though, at the time, I was feeling like a change needed to be made for me. I feel like a lot of things have been transitioning in my life, and I'm thinking of like the later stages as a career in this industry. And then all of a sudden, boom, the world stops and we are, in lockdown at the time. And it literally went from coasting and having a good time to sitting in front of yourself and saying, essentially, oh crap, what's happened? And I literally went from being in a physical space to being at home. And at that moment saying, okay, the word pivot became the the catch-all phrase for everyone, because my career completely shifted, and I had to think, because bills don't stop and a lot of life doesn't stop. And I had to sit there and really think quickly, okay, now how can I change? What can we do? And I will say the fitness injury kind of collectively pivoted together in a way,
Yeah.
and it was comforting, but at the same time, you know, everybody's definition of how they can live is all different. But I definitely
Right.
had to sit down and recreate and take my clients virtually. But a lot of my clients, you know, went through a lot of their own struggles. So the bulk of the ones that I had, I don't have anymore. And so now you're
Right.
still pivoting, and a lot of projects you were working on had to shift dramatically. And then there was moments where it became very hard and almost to a depressive state. And so I had to search inside myself and figure out, you know, you're talented, you know,
Right.
you have a support system. Now
Right.
it's time to kind of branch out and see where you can find that help.
Right.
And that's where I just had to sit there and recreate. We're
Yeah.
resilient people. You just have to kind of find yourself and break through.
Yeah, for sure. I love that we're doing this together. I think if I've learned one thing, which I know you have as well, Yamisi, is that like coming together as a collective network and not being alone in this and realizing, okay, all of us are having challenges. What can we do together to brainstorm and think on our feet versus I'm sitting here by myself. I have to figure this business out and pay my bills as things collect on our desk. It's not that way, which is such a blessing for sure. What about you, Maricris?
Yeah, I mean, just as the both of you, pivot was the big word.
Right.
You know, once I realized like, oh, this is my new reality. I had to take a moment and recognize, you know, prior I was very busy with my business. I was blessed. I finally had gone to where I wanted it to be in person, and then it all stopped. But within that prior, I was making that transition to wanting to train online. And at that moment when reality hits where it's like, we're not going back to in-person
Right.
for a while, I was like, wait a minute, this is the life that I've been asking for. So I need to schedule my day like it's that life already. And so I, you know, went back and, you know, even as much as adding more education, starting another NASM course, I also realized too, you know, with funds being tighter, this is an opportunity. As much as I love to see continued education, you just got to go out there and see what happens, right? With what you know and expand it. And so that's really when I put more time into my content. I was like, hey, I want to be online. I have to show up like I'm already doing that. It goes well sometimes, it doesn't go well other times. But at that same time, having to be creative and in quarantine, having to move to different places within that, you know, even that move to Florida, you know, there was a point where I realized I'm like, I'm just not motivated. I know all the business strategies. I know what sounds right, but nothing was moving me inside. And I'm very, as much as I am strategic, I'm very much about following my gut feeling. And I know usually sometimes going a different place will boost that creativity, wake me up. And I came to Florida, wanted to just release, have fun, shoot some content. And from there, people were like, what's in you? What's happening with your content? And because of that, my playfulness, by putting myself in a different scenario, it opened up different doors, opportunities. Some of the biggest highlights happened to me during quarantine. Like my first national coverage, I'm like, I don't know how I got that, but you know, and different opportunities even presented from you or someone else. And it's something I always wanted to do. Didn't know when it was going to come, but I knew I just had to jump and figure it out as I go. And just those little steps that trickle continue to open more doors and pave that way. And, you know, just like the both of you, it's just, you kind of just go with this flow and continue to adjust. And you just grow as a result. You have that great foundational base, but I think it's also opened up other doors to be able to do what we do and also literally grow as a trainer and a person.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, I know everybody has different dynamics in their family, whether you're a mother, caretaker, whatever the case may be. But to Yamisi's point, the bills don't stop. They haven't. It would be great if we could just push a pause button and say, I'll be right back. Right? Let me figure out my career and then I'll pay my mortgage. But that's not the way things work. So I just want everybody out there to understand that you're not alone. Like all of us are still finding comfort, I guess you can say, and trusting the process. But that the biggest reminder I would love for everyone to take away from what we talk about here is that people need wellness, not just fitness. So whether it's children, families, individuals, hardworking, whatever it is, people need wellness, and all of us have our different niches, I guess you could say, niches and specialties, but we want to make sure that we are finding what that is, honing into that. And what I talk about a lot on this show is finding ways to be there for your community, not saying that you work all the time for free, but you want to be able to take a step back and say, how can I make a global impact? Because people are looking at me now globally, to Maricris's point, right? You're not just in your own little bubble. People can literally find you. I've had people find me from all over the world, to your point. Like, I've spoken during conferences for other countries that I never would have really had the opportunity to do had this not happened, but that's always been in the back of my mind. What are some things that the two of you do to maybe make sure that you are kind of putting equity into your business, to not only focus, of course, on profit, but maybe make sure that you're also trying to help the community as much as you can that you know is around you, that maybe is struggling or not able to access you? Are there any tips that you can give those that are watching of what you do?
Yeah, I mean, in regards to me, obviously, I'm very huge on the content and social media aspect. And, you know, because of that, I've been presented with great opportunities, as you say, in regards to profit. But I've also been reached out, especially being in a new area, about a nonprofit that I can contribute to for classes that way as well. And being in this new space, you know, there's beautiful areas outside where you can socially distance. And I've reached out to the community and seen how can I host something for your community. And also I get to experience a different bit of like culture that's here. So I think the biggest thing, as you're talking about with that global reach, is really interacting with your community. And, you know, this past month, you know, it gets so tiring sometimes about thinking how to perform, thinking how to profit, where it's like, let me just do what I do. And I love it. So literally 2 days before February started, I said, I wanted to host a self-love challenge. I know how to host workouts. I want to be giving back. I want to give everyone an opportunity. And ironically, out of that, I signed a client. I wasn't even trying to sign a client, but it's funny when you're just focused on doing you,
the right thing,
doing the best and serving, they feel that versus something that seems inauthentic of just straight marketing.
Right. Well,
and
yeah.
That's why I say it's, those posts that you don't think are going to work, that workout you're kind of confused about, just post it and just see what happens and see who reaches out to you. And you'd actually be very surprised how you can connect with others authentically and find different ways to serve.
Absolutely. And I love the work that you're doing up in Harlem, Yamisi. Is there any tips or anything that you're doing with your community where you've been able to balance not just the profit side of course, earning, but how to give back and how to be accessible to folks that perhaps can't reach you as a professional?
Yeah. As the weather starts to break, and even beforehand, I live really close to my mom, just for caretaking purposes. And a lot of the people in the building are more on the senior side. They've been living there for years. And so I try to connect with them because I know they've seen me outside and seen me as a trainer. So trying to create programs for them. We have a little community center to kind of help them get out and move, especially during this time where, fortunately, we are kind of opening up a little bit more, but prior to that, just being able to be in a room and moving and teaching some education about healthy tips and nutrition. Those who are around me and looking to, you know, to reach out, telling them other ways they could do fitness if necessarily working out in their home is not an option, going out for walks and, you know, urging us to walk collectively as a group. A lot of times I reach out to my friends who are some are in New York and some are out of town, and we do group workouts together, having chats, so that while we're doing a workout, but also getting some mental clarity and just really finding how well people are doing. And so reaching out to people on a more communicative basis so that we can talk, communicate, and move together. That's what I'm doing. And just finding other avenues. Those in my basketball circuit from a little while ago when I was growing up playing, a lot of my friends have their own nonprofit organizations. So we do a lot of collaborations or work on some collaborations so that we can reach the youth and, you know, reach those in senior populations and just kind of reach out and try to touch as many people as we can, so that, you know, they can have the tools and the resources, which is mostly lacking, you know, in areas, especially where I'm living.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, you know, having my mom with us and having my mom with us and a 4-year-old, it helps with movement for both of them, but it encourages me to always make sure, like when she's on the phone with her friends, like getting them just to remember like a 5-minute walk, a 10-minute walk, anything you can do to get moving and control the controllable, I say, you know, with COVID and everything going on. Nobody can really control what's going on right now with everything, but you can control your movement as much as you can. and just be an open sponge to learning from folks like us, and know that we're here and we're not just here to make money, which I appreciate so much from the two of you. But for our last question, as you kind of also, I want you to share how folks can connect with you on social. And I know that you just mentioned this, Yamisi, and Maricris and I talk a lot and brainstorm a lot. So how important is it to have a supportive circle of influence, but also at the same time, a supportive, diverse circle of influence that perhaps you can learn from in this space? And then, of course, how can folks find you on social?
I think it's crucial to have a support system, and a diverse support system as well. Number one, just having a support system so that you can not only branch out and network, but also have someone that you can feed off back and forth, and a group of people to support and be motivational, provide guidance and resources and access, and so that we can have, my quote has continued to be is a rising tide rises all boats. And so when you have different people out there, and you do that reciprocating support system, everybody succeeds and everybody progresses and moves forward. Having a more diverse group allows us to kind of break down those walls and those biases that we may or may not have, and that we really don't need, because once you learn about people from wherever background they come from or whatever ethnicities they are, you've not only learn about the differences that there are, but you also learn how relatable you are to one another, and it builds a rapport, and it kind of breaks down a lot of the walls that we're still trying to, break down and bury forever. Because that's what true progress is having an inclusive and diverse group that you are surrounded by, so that everybody can kind of usher forward, and then we have an even larger support system.
Right. I totally agree with that. I'm always about not being the jack of all trades and master of none. I cannot do everything, but I will depend on you for one thing, Maricris for another thing, and that's how we all collectively can serve. Thank you for that. And how can folks find you on social?
You can find me on Instagram. My personal account is YAMZZ. My quality of life. My website is QLTYoflife.com, and the Instagram name is _quality of life, same spelling, QLTY of life. And that's how you can find me.
Awesome. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. And what about for you, Maricris? What about the importance of a diverse circle of folks? And then how can folks find you besides seeing you on our commercials?
Yeah. So actually piggybacking off of you, my mom used to say that quote to me all the time, master of none. And it just used to bug me because I was like, I want to do everything. Right. But you realize that you do have to rise with a team, and it's so helpful. And I think especially this past year, I've really experienced, I feel like I've always had a good group around me, but really experiencing that diverse group. And ironically, I was in a meeting this morning, and I thought it was so interesting how he said it. I believe it was Dr. Ivan Meisner, and the quote was, diversity is a fact, inclusiveness is a choice. I was like, whoa.
Right?
And what I loved about it, and just my experience it with myself, is it really just opens up other doors for you. As Yamisi was saying too, and it opens your eyes to what else is out there. They gave that tip in the meeting this morning of, when your group, of course, you're going to gravitate who you're more comfortable with, but try, maybe we can't gravitate towards people now, but whether it's connecting on social or whatever it is,
somehow
go towards someone who doesn't look like you, or they seem different than you for whatever it is. And I think that's just what's so interesting. Half the time, I just want to talk to someone because I'm like, and listen without judgment, because I'm so curious. I've just not been exposed to that. And, going into things as simple as maybe the things you eat or whatever, like you just don't like some things because maybe you've never seen it. Not that you don't like it, you just don't know it. And so being around people just is so good for your growth as an individual in your career and your mental well-being, and just creating this understanding. So I think it's so important to make that conscious effort. And, it's important to bring people up with you as you travel on your journey, but also think about, remember people who open doors for you and how you can do that for others. I think sometimes we forget about that as well.
Right. Pay it forward, and always remember that that's how we keep this going, and we continue this momentum of this, because it a niche industry per se, right? So I just want to thank you both again for taking the time to hang out with me today. That's pretty much all we did. But encouraging everyone who's watching this live, or if you haven't been able to watch it live, to comment, and I will try to go in and comment back on the posts, as I love introducing you to amazing humans that are in this industry with us. So join us next week for We Speak again. And if you're interested or have questions, we will check in on those as much as we can. Have a great rest of your day.